You're in violation.
It was a humid summer evening in Arlington, Texas, the kind where the air hung heavy and the cicadas buzzed like an endless alarm. Robert Hayes, a retired Navy SEAL in his mid-50s, sat in his recliner, flipping through a dog-eared copy of a history book on World War II battles. His wife, Laura, was in the kitchen, rinsing dishes from their simple dinner of grilled chicken and salad. Their teenage son, Michael, was upstairs, headphones on, tackling algebra homework. The neighborhood was quiet, the sort of suburban calm that Robert had craved after years of deployments, neat lawns, picket fences, and the occasional bark from a distant dog. But that calm shattered with a thunderous pounding on the front door. Bang, bang, bang. The knocks weren't polite. They were aggressive, rattling the windows and sending a jolt through Robert's spine. He set his book down, instincts honed from combat zones kicking in. Who the hell knocks like that at 9 o'clock at night? He glanced at the clock, 9:45 p.m. and moved toward the door, his bare feet silent on the hardwood floor. Open up. You're in violation, a gruff voice shouted from outside, laced with authority that sounded more like a demand than a request. Robert peered through the peephole. No flashing lights. No uniforms, just 3 burly men in dark jackets emblazoned with the logo of the local homeowners association, the Arlington Heights Community Board. He'd seen those jackets before, on the stern-faced enforcers who patrolled the streets for minor infractions like overgrown hedges or visible trash cans. But these guys weren't carrying clipboards. One had his shoulder braced against the door, ready to shove. What's this about? Robert called out, keeping his voice steady, the way he'd been trained to de-escalate in hostile territories. Too many cars in your driveway. You've ignored the notices. We're here to make you comply, the lead man barked. Before Robert could respond, the door buckled under a forceful kick. Wood splintered, and the frame cracked as the intruders burst in, flashlights sweeping the living room like search beams in a raid. Laura screamed from the kitchen, dropping a plate that shattered on the tile. Michael pounded down the stairs, eyes wide with fear. Get out of my house, Robert said firmly, planting his feet in a wide stance, his body a wall between the men and his family. He didn't raise his fist, he didn't need to. His presence alone, built from years of special operations, made the air thicken. The leader pointed a flashlight at the window, illuminating Michael's beat-up sedan parked next to Robert's truck and Laura's SUV. For vehicles, rules say 3 max. You were warned. This is trespassing. Laura, call 911, Robert ordered, his tone calm but unyielding. The men hesitated, murmuring among themselves as Laura's voice trembled on the phone in the background. Finally, they backed toward the door. This ain't over, the leader snarled. You'll pay for this. As they slammed out, leaving the door hanging crookedly, Robert exhaled slowly. His heart raced, not from fear, but from the raw violation of his sanctuary. This wasn't some overseas enemy. This was his own neighborhood board acting like thugs. And in that moment, Robert knew he couldn't let it slide. What if they'd been armed? What if his family had been alone? The questions burned in his mind, fueling a resolve that would pull in old allies and shake the entire community. The police arrived minutes later, red and blue lights flickering across the splintered door like a bad omen. 2 officers from the Arlington PD stepped onto the porch, one grizzled veteran with a mustache turning gray, the other a younger rookie fidgeting with his belt. Robert met them at the threshold, pointing to the damage. 3 men from the community board kicked in my door over a parking violation. They terrorized my family. I want charges pressed. The older officer shone his light on the frame, then exchanged a glance with his partner. HOA jackets, you say? Look, sir, these boards get carried away sometimes, but this sounds more like a dispute than a crime. A dispute? Robert's voice sharpened. They forced entry. If I did that to their office, I'd be in cuffs right now. Laura joined him, her face pale but determined. I saw their faces. They shouted rules like we were criminals. Please, take this seriously. The officers shifted uncomfortably. No immediate arrests, no urgent radio calls, just a notepad flipped open reluctantly. We'll file a report, the veteran said. But you'd be better off talking to the board or getting a lawyer. Civil stuff like this. It's not our wheelhouse. Robert felt a surge of anger. Civil? My home was invaded. That's breaking and entering. He stepped closer, his military bearing making the officer straighten. Document it right, or we'll make sure the department hears about this oversight. They scribbled notes, avoiding eye contact, and left with promises of follow-up that rang hollow. Inside, Michael hovered near the stairs. Dad, are they just gonna let this go? Not if I have anything to say about it, Robert replied, pulling out his phone. He scrolled to a name he hadn't dialed in months. Jack Thompson, a fellow SEAL who'd saved his life more than once in the sands of the Middle East. The line rang twice. Robert? Long time, brother. I need you, Jack. Some HOA goons just kicked in my door. Police brushed it off. I can't let this stand. A pause, then Jack's voice hardened. Say no more. I'll round up the guys. We'll be there tomorrow. As Robert hung up, Laura touched his arm. Are you sure? This could escalate. They escalated first, he said. Now it's time they face real discipline. The next morning, Robert met Jack at a greasy spoon diner off Interstate 30, the kind with bottomless coffee and vinyl boots cracked from years of use. Jack arrived first, his frame still solid despite the gray in his beard. With him were Miguel Ramirez, wiry and quick-witted, and Tom Whitaker, tall with a scar from a long-ago mission snaking down his neck. Spill it, Jack said as they slid into the booth. Robert recounted the break-in, the police's apathy, the fear in Laura's eyes. It's not just about me. If they do this to one family, who's next? Miguel whistled. Sounds like a power trip gone wrong. We kicking doors back. No, Robert said firmly. We're doing this smart. Confront the board, cameras rolling. Show them what real accountability looks like. Tom nodded. Presence over punches. That's how you win without regrets. By evening, the full team assembled at a rented storage unit on the edge of town. Jack, Miguel, Tom, plus Alex Chun, a tech was now in cybersecurity, and Derek Stone, built like a tank with a surprisingly gentle demeanor. They huddled around a makeshift table, mapping out the plan like an old op briefing. We hit their office during the next meeting, Robert said. Demand answers publicly. Alex, you handle the live stream. Alex tapped his laptop. Got it. Multiple angles, cloud backup. If they deny, the world sees. Derek cracked his knuckles. And if they get physical? We don't, Jack interjected. We stay calm. Let their chaos expose them. Robert felt a flicker of doubt. Could words really counterforce? But seeing his brothers there steadied him. This wasn't just revenge, it was justice. But as they refined the strategy, whispers from neighbors hinted at deeper rot in the board, stories of fines that crippled families and threats that silenced complaints. The fight was bigger than one door. Saturday dawned bright, the Texas sun already baking the asphalt as Robert and the team pulled into the parking lot of the Arlington Heights Community Board office, a squat brick building with tinted windows and a sign boasting, building better neighborhoods. Inside, the air was stale, scented with cheap coffee and printer ink. A receptionist looked up, her eyes widening at the group of 6 determined men. We're here to see the board, Robert said evenly. It's urgent. They're in session, she stammered. Appointment only. Miguel leaned on the counter. We'll wait. Minutes later, the double doors opened. Out strode Harold Benson, the chairman, paunchy and red-faced, flanked by Evelyn Wright, the treasurer with her pinched expression, and Victor Kane, head of enforcement, smirking like he owned the place. Mr. Hayes, Benson huffed. What's this mob about? Barging in like you own us. Alex's chest-mounted camera whirred to life, streaming live. 3 of your enforcers kicked in my door Thursday night, Robert stated. Over a parking rule. They scared my family. Who authorized it? Benson's face flushed deeper. Absurd. We don't condone that. Then name them, Jack added, his voice like gravel. Or admit you're covering. Evelyn crossed her arms. If you'd follow the bylaws, none of this. Bylaws don't allow home invasions, Robert cut in. Say it on record. Did you send them? The room tensed. Victor scowled, but Benson stammered. This is harassment. The live stream chat exploded with views, neighbors tuning in, sharing their own grievances. The team left without incident, but the video went viral locally. By afternoon, Sarah Jenkins, a single mom down the street, approached Robert in his yard. I saw it. They fined me $400 for my kids' bikes last year. I paid because I was scared. But now, maybe we fight back. George and Martha Ellis, elderly retirees, shared tales of endless yard citations after George's hip surgery. Kevin Singh confessed to lean threats during a job loss. A crowd gathered on Robert's lawn that evening, voices rising in shared outrage. This board bullies because we let them, Robert said. Together, we stop it. But the board fought back. A mass email blasted residents, denying involvement and threatening lawsuits against defamers. Suspicious cars circled the block, prompting Alex to install security cameras. Tensions peaked when a defamation suit arrived, demanding $500,000 from Robert. Laura gasped. How do we afford this? We don't fold, Robert replied. We counter. Enter Diane Foster, a sharp attorney in a downtown office smelling of leather and law books. She reviewed the footage, photos, and testimonies. This is criminal, not civil. And with neighbors' stories, we can build a class action angle. Diane filed complaints and suits, rallying more residents. Media caught wind. A Dallas TV station ran segments on HOA tyranny in suburbia. The board's PR spin faltered under public scrutiny. The climax came in the Tarrant County Courthouse, a stately building with echoing halls. Robert, Laura, Michael, the team, and dozens of neighbors packed the gallery. Diane presented evidence, videos, damaged door pics, witness statements. Sarah testified tearfully about her fines, the Elises about harassment, Kevin about threats. On the stand, Robert locked eyes with the judge. I fought abroad for freedom. Never thought I'd battle it at home. This board abuses power. It's time for accountability. The board's lawyers floundered, denials crumbling. Judge Elena Ramirez ruled firmly. Criminal charges against the enforcers, board reforms, and damages awarded. Authority serves the community, not terrorizes it. Cheers erupted. Outside, reporters swarmed. Robert addressed them. This proves unity beats fear. No family should endure this. Back home, the neighborhood transformed. Fewer petty fines, more community spirit. As the team departed, Jack clasped Robert's hand. You led this, brother. Months later, peace reigned. Robert sat on his porch, watching kids play freely. The broken door was fixed, but the lesson endured. Stand together, and injustice crumbles. What do you think, readers? Have you faced similar HOA overreach or injustice in your life? Share your stories in the comments below, especially your thoughts on violence and unfairness in everyday society. Do you believe standing up like this is always worth the risk, or should people sometimes just comply to avoid conflict? Take a stand and let your voice be heard. Your perspective could spark important discussions.